its beguiling words.
You have to work so hard to decipher it, and this is why it's so attractive, because of this beautiful game it plays with you of revealing and hiding.
Decoding these intricate passages promises a greater understanding of God and his relationship with humankind.
The Zohar really sees the Bible as a secret code. Every event in the Zohar, every bit of narrative, every biblical law, is telling something not only about what happens on earth, but about God's inner being.
Kabbalists suppose that if they can successfully decipher the Zohar, they will unlock the mysteries of both heaven and earth. One of these secrets is a startling revelation concerning God's own body and his sexuality. By the 13th century, the mystical movement known as Kabbalah had spread throughout Europe and the Middle East. Yet even though the number of Jews studying the texts grew accordingly, its secrets remained successfully hidden. Ever since, scholars have been searching for ways to unlock these secrets. In Berkeley, California, Daniel Mack works, surrounded by copies of the Zohar, the most revered manuscript in Kabbalah. His bookshelves are filled with versions and commentaries in Aramaic, Hebrew, English, and French. They come from libraries all over the world. He hopes to complete the first English translation of the Zohar based on original Aramaic manuscripts. This ambitious work is the latest attempt to understand a book that has perplexed scholars for over 700 years.
I don't want to ruin the mystery or the strange, cryptic quality of the Zohar, but I'm trying to make it accessible to a contemporary reader.
The Zohar is perhaps the most difficult of all Jewish texts to translate. Most of its roughly 2,000 pages are in Aramaic, an obscure language that may have been used deliberately to further confound efforts to decipher it. On the surface, the Zohar is a novel which follows Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and a group of other rabbis on a journey through the Holy Land.
They wander through the hills of Galilee, sharing their secret teachings, sometimes running into strange characters on the road.
Kabbalists assert that the narrative contains clues that can explain hidden meanings in the Torah, the Hebrew scriptures. Several examples can be found by re-examining the book of Genesis. Here, the Zohar overturns the traditional account that God expelled Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. The Zohar's interpretation offers a revolutionary concept that human beings can influence Almighty God.
But the Zohar asks a very radical question. It says, who kicked whom out of the garden? And the Zohar actually teaches Adam expelled God from the garden. It's as if we're still in the garden, but we don't realize it because we've expelled God. We've lost touch with a spiritual dimension. And the challenge is to regain some awareness, some intimacy with the divine.
The further Kabbalists delve into the Zohar, the more recondite the words become.
It has a very rich symbolic system. This is a deliberated means to keep the Zohar for the elite only. The writers probably thought that only those who are spiritual enough will be able to decipher it.
The major symbolic code found in the Zohar is that of the 10 aspects of God's personality, the 10 Sephirot. One popular interpretation shows these characteristics as a map of his body. Kabbalists believe that if they can understand the anatomy of the deity, then they can learn how his power operates. These ancient drawings show that God's body is similar to that of humans. The top symbolizes his head, which is the source of will, wisdom, and understanding. Below are symmetrically arranged organs and limbs, representing love, power, beauty, eternity, and splendor. The most controversial element of the diagram indicates sensuality. The ninth part of God, called the foundation, is the phallus, the procreative life force of the universe. But according to the Sephirot, he also has female components. The final element, often called Shekinah, is depicted as the feminine side of God. This image challenges the conventional worldview of a strictly masculine supreme deity.
What we find for the first time is that this feminine aspect, the feminine consort of God, is divine and is part of the divinity.
So to unite the male and female halves of God, this becomes the goal of the whole system of the Sephirot. And the Zohar describes that union in very graphic terms. There really is a romance within God and a sexual union, and that's a striking element of the Zohar, probably led to its wide appeal in some ways.
This complex system supported the Kabbalist theory that human beings can affect divine action. Students of the Zohar believe that human actions can unite the masculine and feminine halves of God.
How are the two halves of God united? Through human virtue, through loving one's neighbor, through helping the poor, through observing the Sabbath, through various interpersonal and ritual commandments, one brings together these two halves of God. You might say that this is how we actualize the divine potential in the world.
The idea that God is dependent on man clashes headlong with traditional religion that sees God as omniscient and omnipotent.
We, and this is, I think, an extraordinary idea of the Kabbalists, we have the ability, through the performance of sacred deeds, to nurture God, to influence God, to affect God, to be able to affect the divine disposition, which then will affect the flow down of divine grace to our world.
But accordingly, the wickedness of humans can also create disorder.
In this case, human misdeeds, human unethical conduct, human evil empowers the cosmic evil, or somehow ruins the harmony within God and stimulates evil in the universe.
Another radical idea encrypted in the Zohar is that even a seemingly insignificant verse in the Hebrew scriptures can reveal how God feels and acts.
In the Zohar, they read the Bible not only as a story about human beings, what's going on in human affairs, but they also read it on a mystical level as a story about what's going on within the inner life of God.
According to the Zohar, biblical characters are often metaphors for God's own thoughts and decisions.
The quality of loving kindness, for instance, came to be associated with Abraham in the Bible. So every reference to Abraham doing something was actually viewed as a reference to the role of loving kindness in the world.
The Zohar also scrutinizes biblical events to find hidden meanings in them.
The flood, according to Kabbalah, is happening now. If you don't know that the flood is still going on, then you're drowning and you don't even know it. So various symbols of chaos and destruction from the Bible were also viewed not in the past tense, but as still unfolding.
While mystics continued to explore the secret codes of the Zohar, another 13th century Spanish Kabbalist was devising a new method for uniting the human self with the divine. Abraham Abulafia's technique involved intense meditation and a discipline not unlike yoga. His followers used precise hand